The alarm pierced the silence at 5:30 a.m. Instinctively, Nina reached out to silence it before the sound could stir Andriy. He merely rolled over with a dissatisfied grunt. In the dim light of the room, she felt around for her slippers and tiptoed to the kitchen, each step aching with exhaustion. The migraine had returned third time this week. The doctor had warned her, chronic sleep deprivation, stress, but who had time to be sick? She swallowed a pill and chased it with cold tap water. Her head throbbed from the night. Before she'd stayed up past midnight finishing quarterly reports for her side job. A steaming cup of strong coffee gave her just enough strength to get moving as she prepared breakfast for her husband. She scanned her emails. Please let me finish the Saturday course presentation in time, she thought, slicing cheese for sandwiches. For 3 months now, she'd been teaching weekend financial literacy classes not just for the extra money, though that certainly mattered, but because it gave her joy. The only one of her 3 jobs that actually made her feel alive. She stared at her hands, etched with fine lines, pausing mid. At 34, she could feel time slipping through her fingers like sand. When had she last slept more than 6 hours? Her manicure was from 6 weeks ago. Before marriage, she used to take care of herself. She used to feel like herself. She thought of her mother gone 7 years now. Never let anyone decide what you deserve, Ninushka, her mother would say. She raised Nina alone, worked herself to the bone, but never let her daughter feel forgotten. Maybe that's why Nina married Andriy. He had seemed so caring, almost like the father she never knew, but often imagined as a child. With a heavy sigh, she placed the sandwiches on a plate and gently covered them with a napkin. Andriy wouldn't wake before 11. On her way out, she checked her to-do list. Another grueling day. Like every day, at the office her heart skipped a beat when her manager, Marina Sergeyevna, gestured for her to come in. Her tone was serious. Please, not layoffs. We just paid rent. The loan has 3 more years. I've been observing your work for a while, Marina said, her voice calm. Your professionalism stands out. Alina Viktorovna is retiring next month. I want to offer you the position of chief accountant. Nina blinked in disbelief. Yes, you, Marina smiled. The salary will be nearly double. But there's one condition: full commitment. We're expanding, our client base is growing. You'll need to give up all your side work. Nina felt a cold pressure tighten in her chest. 2 salaries and the course income, that was her safety net. If she let go of those and something went wrong. She thought of Vera, her mentor at her first job. Vera had accepted a promotion, quit her side jobs. A month later, the company collapsed. Vera lost everything: job, income. With a mortgage and a sick daughter, Nina helped her as much as she could, but the fear never left. Since then, she'd lived by one rule: never keep all your eggs in one basket. I need to think about it, she whispered. You have until the end of the week, Marina replied. But don't take too long. There are other candidates. Nina stepped out of the director's office and leaned against the cold wall of the corridor. Her phone buzzed in. Her pocket a message: Ninushka, call me back immediately. It's important. It was from her mother-in-law. Her hands trembled as she read it. Moments later at dinner, she stared at her husband, stunned. She's moving in with us. Andriy devoured his food with enthusiasm, barely glancing up. We have a 2-bedroom apartment. Andriy, where exactly is she going to live? In your office, of course. He shrugged, chewing. She's my mother, Nina. Her blood pressure is unstable. The doctor said she shouldn't be alone, and she can't afford a caretaker. We can't afford one either, Nina thought, but said nothing. His mother had never shown her much warmth, but still, she was family. You don't abandon an elderly woman in need. Trying to push her growing frustration aside, Nina chose to share her own news. I was offered a promotion today, chief accountant. That made Andriy look up from his plate. Seriously, and the pay almost double. But I'll need to give up the side jobs. Something in his face shifted. The warmth drained from his expression. I don't think that's a smart move. Why not? I could work 1 job instead of 3 and still earn more. And if they fire you or the company goes under, then what? Right now you've got 3 sources of income. That's more secure. Nina said nothing. 5 years ago, when they married, Andriy had a good job. She was still finishing school then, and he supported them both. That meant everything to her, especially after her best friend, Katya's sudden death. They had taken out a loan together to start a small business. It failed. Then Katya died in a car crash, leaving Nina with nearly 1 million rubles in debt. Back then, Andriy had said, "Don't worry, we'll get through it together," and he had helped until he lost his job. He'd been laid off, and for the past year hadn't found anything solid. At first, Nina believed things would turn around. But the months passed and Andriy kept returning from the occasional interview with the same excuse: the pay is peanuts, or the boss is a tyrant. I'm not putting up with that. Now she was paying off the last of Katya's debt herself, scraping together every ruble from her modest earnings. She wanted to believe Andriy was just going through a rough patch. After all, he had once stood by her. Maybe it was now her turn. 3 days later, Valentina Petrovna arrived. 2 enormous suitcases, a box of medicine. Despite her serious health issues, she looked surprisingly energetic and refused any help with her heavy luggage. "Ninashka, I know things are already hard for you, she said with a falsely sweet tone, hugging her stiffly. I'll try not to be a burden. But the next week became a waking nightmare. The room Nina had cleaned out for her, formerly Andrew's office, next to the kitchen, now served as the mother-in-law's bedroom. Every morning, Nina tried not to wake either her husband or Valentina Petrovna as she moved quietly through the house. Despite claiming she had insomnia, Valentina never forgot to complain that the sound of the faucet had kept her up all night. Grocery bills spiked. Her mother-in-law insisted on a special diet requiring expensive, hard-to-find items. When Nina gently suggested contributing to the household expenses, Valentina pursed her lips with offended pride. I worked my whole life, and now on this tiny pension, I barely get by. By week's end, Nina was drained. Work during the day, freelance projects at night, class prep in the late hours, and now cooking, cleaning, laundry for three. Andrew. He remained at his computer looking for work, barely lifting a finger to help. Thursday evening, Nina returned home carrying heavy grocery bags. As she stepped into the entryway, a wave of dizziness hit. The hallway spun. Her vision went dark. The bags slipped from her hands, and Nina collapsed to the floor. Cold water spattered across her face, dragging her back to consciousness. Hovering above was her mother-in-law, eyes wide with staged concern. Nina, sweetheart, what's wrong? Should I call an ambulance? Don't, Nina whispered, forcing herself upright. Just overworked, that's all, Valentina replied with syrupy sympathy. Maybe take a vacation. Impossible, Nina murmured, fishing painkillers from her bag. We're on a deadline. That night her mother appeared in a dream, watching her with quiet sorrow, shaking her head. Friday evening, while chopping vegetables, Nina caught voices drifting from the next room. At least wash a dish or two, Valentina said in a low voice. Why? Her husband Andrei answered just as softly. Nina will redo everything, she's our little perfectionist. Valentina chuckled. And about that promotion? She's still thinking, but I'll talk her out of it. We can't gamble with our steady income. Nina's heart clenched. He'd said, as though she weren't the only one keeping the household afloat. Near midnight, the phone jolted her awake. Aunt Valia, her mother's neighbor back home, was on the line, voice trembling. Nina, forgive the hour, bad news. Do you remember Dasha, my sister's girl? A car hit her today. She's in intensive care. Surgery is urgent, expensive. The bank said no. Nina's throat tightened. Little Dasha with the braids, the one who spent summers learning to bake pies with Nina's mom. Of course I'll help. How much? 200,000, Aunt Valia confessed. Ashamed, I'll transfer it tomorrow. Send the details, Nina said, her voice steady. She hung up and looked at her sleeping husband. 200,000, nearly her entire rainy day fund. But how could she refuse? Tossing and turning beside Andrew's gentle snore, Nina made her choice. Monday she would accept that higher position. Life was too short. People needed help, and she would earn more to give more. On Monday she signed the new contract. On Tuesday she resigned from her side job. A month from now, one demanding role instead of two, some peace at last. She told Andrei nothing, planning to reveal the good news with her first salary and prove there was nothing to fear. Thursday, her new boss, Marina Sergeyevna, summoned her. Nina Alexovna, tomorrow you'll join a meeting with a key client. Alina will brief you. Come in at 3. The meeting's at 6. Leave early to prepare. That evening, stirring soup, Nina decided she'd reward herself with a little shopping afterward, maybe a fresh outfit for day one in her new life. That, I thought, made her smile. Friday at exactly 3, she stepped out of the office feeling a strange, exhilarating weightlessness. 3 whole hours of freedom, a luxury she hadn't tasted in years. The client meeting was a triumph. Confidence surged. On the way home, bags in hand, she climbed the stairs toward the apartment. Laughter echoed down the hall, Valentina's booming cackle and the clink of glass. Nina slid her key into the lock, froze, and heard her own name. Nina's a saint, Valentina announced, voice bright and carefree. An angel, really. Pity angels aren't always the sharpest, but that suits us fine. Mama, stop, Andrei replied between laughs. It's perfect. Who else would keep both of us in comfort? My brilliant son, Valentina crowed. A full year without a job, and you even moved your mother in. One little Nina takes care of the two of us. Glasses clinked again. Nina stood motionless outside the door, heartbeat thundering, disbelief turning to an icy resolve. By the way, how's it going at your new job? Her mother-in-law's voice shifted lower, conspiratorial. All right, pays good, but Nina doesn't need to know that. Nina's heart stopped mid-beat. You've been working there for 6 months and still haven't told her. Bravo. Valentina Petrovna sounded genuinely impressed. So, what are you saving up for? A new car. I'll be able to afford it. In a couple of months I'll just say I won it, or took a loan. She'll believe me. And did you know she was offered a promotion? Yeah, but I'll talk her out of it, Andrei said smugly. I'll just convince her it's too risky. She always plays it safe. She'll keep juggling 3 jobs like she's been doing. And I'm thinking, Valentina giggled, maybe I'll fake another episode next week. Mama, you're on fire, Andrei laughed. You have no idea how much I enjoy this, she said gleefully, pretending to be a frail old woman so that silly girl runs around me like a nursemaid. Valentina Petrovna, would you like some tea? Valentina Petrovna, shall I fluff your pillow? Hilarious. Andrei laughed too, and you know, she's even been saving money for your treatment, and says it's our duty to help you. My God, what a naive little fool. Valentina wheezed from laughter. Oh, and I have a business proposal for you, she went on. Think she could pay for a spa retreat? You know, for medical reasons. She definitely will, Andrei said confidently. She's always trying to save everyone. Always been that way even back in college. Remember how I met her at that party? Yeah, when you pretended your wallet was stolen and had no money to get home. Exactly. Andrei laughed again. She gave me cab fare and her number. That's when I knew I hit the jackpot. Women like that. Rare you grab them while they're still warm. Nina felt her stomach churn. Her knees nearly gave out. Quietly, turning, she made her way down the stairs and out onto the street. The evening air was cool and sharp as she gasped it in, trying to steady herself. No, it couldn't be real. But the voices, the laughter, the clinking glasses, they were celebrating. Celebrating how expertly they had fooled her. Her phone rang. Aunt Valia Nuneshka, thank you. Thank you. The surgery went well. The doctors say Dasha will recover. I'm so glad to hear that, Nina managed, tears silently running down her face. You're an angel, really. How's your husband? Tell him I said hi. He's lucky to have you. Nina let out a bitter chuckle. Oh, I'll tell him. She remembered when she told Andrei about Dasha and the money. He just shrugged. You're too kind. People take advantage of you. She had thought he was worried for her, but now she saw the truth. He'd only been afraid she'd give away what he considered his something inside. Nina cracked, but instead of tears, a cold determination took root. She walked until she found a small park, sat on a bench and let her thoughts unravel. Everything was spinning. But one thing stood out crystal clear. She would not be their victim anymore. The next morning she followed the same routine, made breakfast, kissed her husband goodbye, smiled, but after work, instead of going home, she went to the address listed in Andrei's phone as interview location. It was a modern business center. Standing just beyond the security gates, she waited at 6 p.m. sharp. She spotted him. Andrei surrounded by colleagues in identical shirts with an IT company logo. He was laughing, carefree, animated. She hadn't seen him this alive in months. One man clapped him on the back. Big presentation Monday, Andrei, don't let us down. Presentation? Nina almost laughed. So he had a job, a team, a project, a whole other life. She watched him walk to a car she'd never seen before, sleek, new, probably his, maybe leased through work, or bought with money he'd hidden. Suddenly, everything made sense. His mysterious interviews, the fresh wardrobe he claimed came from clearance racks, the loans from friends. The next day Nina called her old friend Lena, who worked at a bank. Lena, I need your help. Nina's voice was calm, yet firm. Do you think your lawyer friend could give me some advice about a divorce, and about our shared property too? Her friend's voice trembled with concern. Did something happen? It's just time to bring some order into my life. The lawyer, an older man with gray hair and tired eyes, listened silently to Nina's story. When she finished, he folded his hands. So, you believe your husband has been hiding his income? Yes, I know where he works, but officially he's listed as unemployed. I don't have solid proof. That won't hold up in court, the lawyer said, shaking his head. But if you had a recording of him admitting it, that could change things. I don't, Nina replied, but I could get one. The lawyer raised his eyebrows. It's risky. If he realizes you're recording him, things could get ugly. Nina paused. Something inside her recoiled. She didn't want to stoop to deception, to become as manipulative as the people she was trying to break free from. There must be another way, she whispered. What if I just walk away, let him keep part of the property? I won't ask for alimony. That's your right, the lawyer nodded. But the apartment, it's in both your names. I'd agree to split it, she said. Then you must act decisively, but within the law. He handed her a card. Call me when you're ready. I'll have the papers prepared. On the way home, Nina rehearsed her plan. Over the next week she opened a new bank account, rented a modest apartment close to work, and began quietly moving her most precious things, photos of her mother, documents, books that had carried her through dark times. She withdrew her share of the family savings, what was left after Dasha's surgery, and moved it to her new account. Every evening she returned to the home that no longer felt like hers. She played the role an exhausted but loving wife. She watched as Andrei and his mother whispered to each other, making plans in hushed tones, completely certain that Nina was oblivious. One night, when Valentina Petrovna had gone to visit a friend, Andrei unexpectedly wrapped his arms around her. I love you so much, baby. You're a real hero. I don't know what I'd do without you. Nina looked into his eyes, searching for any hint of sincerity. She saw none. How had she been so blind for so long? Or did she simply choose to believe what was convenient, really? She asked softly. Of course, he said, kissing her forehead. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. The best thing that's happened to you, she thought, bitterly, is a free housekeeper, a cook, and a wallet all in one. She smiled. I love you too. But for the first time, The words felt hollow. All that remained inside was a cold, steady resolve. "Marina Sergeyevna, do you have a moment?" Her boss looked up from the computer. "Of course, Nina Alexeyevna, something wrong?" "I have a request." Nina kept her voice level. "Could you please transfer my first salary in the new role to this account? It's my personal account. I opened it today." Her boss looked at her, curious but asked no questions. "Understood. It'll be done for the next 2 weeks," Nina continued. Her act, the tired but devoted wife, the woman who rushed home after work to make dinner for her husband and mother-in-law, the one who smiled through Valentina's endless health complaints, ran to the pharmacy for pills, and sympathized with Andrei's struggles to find a job. But behind her eyes, a new life was already taking shape on payday. Nina came home with a bouquet of fresh flowers and a bottle of champagne. "Today I got my first paycheck in the new position," she said, her voice bright with joy. "Let's celebrate. I booked us a table at the White Swan." Andrei blinked, surprised. "Whoa, that place. Isn't it crazy expensive? What are you trying to pull?" "We deserve it," Nina smiled. "These past months haven't been easy. You've been working so hard, looking for a job." She kissed him on the cheek. "Tonight, the curtain would fall." Valentina Petrovna was still fighting her illnesses. Nina just wanted to bring a little light into their lives, something nice for once. The White Swan was known for its refined cuisine and elegant interior. She had reserved a table by the window, overlooking the riverfront. Dusk had settled, and the city lights danced across the dark water like distant stars. Andrei was in high spirits, cracking jokes, even complimenting Nina. "Haven't seen you looking this gorgeous in ages," he smiled. Valentina Petrovna seemed to have forgotten her ailments for the evening, savoring every bite of the tasting menu with uncharacteristic appetite. When dessert arrived, Nina reached into her bag and pulled out 2 envelopes. "I have a surprise for you both," she said with a warm smile, looking from Andrei to his mother. "What is it?" "Gift cards." Andrei perked up, intrigued. "In a way," Nina said, placing the first envelope in front of his mother. "Valentina Petrovna, these are documents for the rental of a small but cozy apartment not far from downtown. The rent's paid for a month. It's closer to your doctor's than where we live now." Valentina blinked in confusion. "I don't understand. You will..." Nina placed the second envelope in front of her husband. "Andrei, this is a divorce petition and property division paperwork. I haven't filed it yet, but the lawyer has everything ready." Silence hit the table like a dropped glass. Both Andrei and his mother stared at her, frozen. "Is this some kind of joke?" Andrei finally managed. "No jokes," Nina replied, calmly taking a sip of champagne. 2 weeks ago I came home early and overheard your very enlightening conversation about how much fun it is to fool that idiot Nina, how you, Andrei, have been working for months and saving up for a car while I run myself into the ground, juggling 3 jobs, and how you, Valentina Petrovna, are in better health than I am and just enjoy watching me exhaust myself taking care of you both." Valentina's face flushed scarlet. "You misunderstood." "Yes," Andrei jumped in. "We were just messing around." "Come on, you know I love you." "Don't," Nina said, raising her hand. "I've heard enough lies to last me a lifetime. So here's the deal. Valentina Petrovna, you can move into that apartment or go back to your hometown. That's your choice. Andrei, you can live with your mother or on your own, but not with me. You can't just kick us out like that," Andrei snapped. "The apartment is partially mine. That's why I'm proposing a legal division of property," Nina said evenly. "Until the court decides, I'll be living there. You have a few days to move out, and if we don't..." Valentina narrowed her eyes. "Then I file a fraud report with the police against Andrei. I have an audio recording of your conversation, and bank statements showing I've been paying all the bills alone for the past year. I'm sure your employer would love to know you're hiding income and maybe dodging taxes." It was a bluff. Nina had no recording, but the pale faces across the table told her they believed every word. "You ungrateful," Valentina hissed. "After everything we've done for you." "Oh, what exactly did you do for me?" Nina asked coldly, locking eyes with her. "Please, I'd love to hear." The older woman fell silent, her mouth opening then closing without a sound. "Nina, come on, let's talk." Andrei tried to reach for her hand. "We are talking for the last time," she said, pulling away. "But where will you go? I already have a place." "Moved the essentials 2 days ago when you went to visit your sick friend," Nina said, rising from the table. "The bill is paid. Have a nice evening." 6 months later, Nina sat in a cozy cafe finishing her work for the day. The divorce had gone through quickly. Andrei didn't dare challenge her terms, too afraid of what might come out. Valentina Petrovna had returned to her old apartment and never contacted Nina again. It hadn't been easy. The first few weeks were the hardest. Andrei kept trying to get her back, first with threats, "You'll never prove anything," then with begging, "I'll change, I swear." Then came the guilt trips, "I'll fall apart without you." But Nina held her ground. What saved her was the women's support group, the one Marina Sergeyevna had recommended, and from that place of quiet strength Nina began to rebuild, not just her life but herself. There she met other women with similar stories and, for the first time in a long while, she realized she wasn't alone. And then came the letter from Dasha. The girl was recovering, filled with gratitude for her fairy godmother. Inside the envelope was a photo of a smiling teenage girl in a hospital room. On the wall above her bed hung a drawing, a winged female figure. That image gave Nina the strength to move forward. Mind if I join you? The voice of Mikhail, her colleague from the finance department, pulled her out of her thoughts. Of course, she replied with a warm smile, gesturing for him to sit. They had officially met 3 months ago at a company party. Technically, they had worked at the same firm for years, but that evening was their first real conversation. Nina had been sitting quietly in the corner, watching her co-workers laugh and celebrate. Life alone was still new to her. No more rushing home to cook dinner for 3. No more listening to her husband's carefully rehearsed lies. Not a fan of noisy parties? Mikhail had asked, taking the seat beside her. Not anymore, she answered honestly. I guess I've just fallen out of the habit. I understand, he said softly. After my wife passed away, it took me a long time to feel comfortable around people again. That was how their first conversation began, sincere, without pretense. He told her about raising his daughter alone, the struggles and unexpected joys of fatherhood. She shared a little about her divorce, without bitterness, just the simple truth. They talked for hours that night, and when they finally left, they exchanged phone numbers. What followed were quiet lunches at work, an invitation or two to the theater. Nina, slowly but surely, began to lower her guard. A month ago, he had asked her something new. Would you like to meet Katya? He chuckled. She's been talking non-stop about this mysterious aunt from Dad's work. Their first meeting had been awkward. Katya, 10 years old and cautious, studied Nina with a quiet intensity. Nina wasn't sure how to act. Then Katya spotted the owl-shaped brooch on Nina's jacket. Wow, I love owls too. I even have a collection. And, just like that, the ice cracked. That day they walked in the park, fed the ducks, and shared ice cream. Nina watched Mikhail in a new light, attentive, kind, firm but fair, not a pushover, not a dictator, a good father. And then, just last week, came the moment that melted her heart completely. Her phone rang. It was Katya. Nina, Dad's sick. He has a fever. I don't know what to do. Within half an hour, Nina was there with medicine, groceries, and calm resolve. Mikhail lay in bed, burning up, while Katya fluttered around him, trying to help. Nina took control, gave him the medicine, made chicken broth, and showed Katya how to take care of someone properly. When Mikhail finally opened his eyes, he gave her a tired but grateful smile. Sorry for the trouble. No trouble at all, she replied softly. I'm just glad I could help. And in that moment, Nina felt the difference. Mikhail didn't take her kindness for granted. He didn't expect it. He appreciated it. And she knew, deep down, that he would have done the same for her. How did your presentation go? He asked, settling across from her at the cafe table. Great. The client signed the deal. I had no doubt, he smiled. Marina Sergeyevna was full of praise for you. She said promoting you was the best decision she's made all quarter. Nina felt a quiet warmth inside. Praise didn't feel like validation anymore. It felt like recognition and deserved. I have an idea. Mikhail leaned forward a little. There's a street food festival this weekend. Want to go? Katya would be thrilled. She adores those kinds of things. And you? Nina smiled. I'd love to. Oh, and I found that owl book I promised Katya. Want to give it to her. Better if you do it, he said with a grin. She'll be twice as excited. As she finished her coffee, Nina thought about how much her life had changed in the last 6 months. She still volunteered, offering free financial literacy classes for teens. She still helped colleagues when she could, and she had been there for Mikhail and Katya when they needed her most. But now, her kindness had boundaries. She gave with intention to those who valued it, and she had learned to say no to those who didn't. Just yesterday, another letter had arrived. Dasha had fully recovered and had been accepted to medical college. I want to help people, she wrote, the way you helped me. Nina smiled. Maybe this was the point, not to stop being kind, but to share that kindness with people who truly see its worth. On her way home, she stopped and bought a bright bouquet of autumn flowers just for herself, a quiet ritual she'd started after the divorce, a small reminder she deserved care, first and foremost, from herself. This wasn't just a new chapter. It was a whole new book, and Nina was turning every page with curiosity and courage. If this story touched your heart, consider supporting us with a like and subscribing to the channel. Your encouragement helps us bring more uplifting stories to life every day. Thank you for watching, and take care of yourselves. You deserve it.